Okay, so I think I'm going to start on the corner post here. We'll select it. Let's go into isolation mode. And before we start doing anything to it, I'm just going to soften up the edges quickly. Okay, because we do want our wood to look somewhat old, so we don't want to have really sharp edges on it. Alright, so let's just go to edge and just select the 4 corner edges. Alright, and we'll do a chamfer here. Alright, take this down a little bit. Alright, maybe around 0.7, that should work I think. And we'll say OK, and let's invert it, Control I, and we'll just do the ends at the same time, so chamfer again. And we'll just lower this down to tighten it up. Alright, maybe around 0.3, 3.5, something like that should be good. And we'll say OK. And like I mentioned, we are going to use the paint deformation tools to warp our wood, and in order for that to work properly, we're going to have some resolution across the mesh here, so we have some verts that we can pull and push around. Okay, so we'll just manually subdivide this. Alright, so let's go to edge and just drag through, grab the sides, and we'll do a connect here. And obviously the more segments we add, the more resolution we're going to have, and more verts to push around. So the higher we go, we'll get a better result. But I don't want to go total crazy high because we do have to unwrap all this stuff. So let's just do maybe 10. That should be good. You can go higher if you want to, but 10 should be a good number. Alright, and we also want to do it in the other 2 directions as well. So let's just drag through, get all those guys, and we'll do a connect this way. Alright, and we can probably use 2 or 3 here. Alright, 3 should be enough, so we'll say OK, and then let's also do it the other direction. Alright, so I'm just going to grab the top edges and hold Control and grab the bottom ones. Hit ring, and then just hit connect, and add 3 that way as well. Alright. Okay, so let's turn off edge for a sec, exit isolation mode. And yeah, I'm just going to clone this around and align it to our other post just to save some time. You could do each piece separately if you wanted to. That's the way I did it when I originally built this, but just for the sake of speed, I'm just going to try to cut a little bit of time here. Alright, so let's maybe center the pivot on this one. So I'm just going to go into the hierarchy tab, hit effect pivot only, hit centered object, and then turn it off. Okay, and I'm also going to center the pivots on the other 3 here quickly. Alright, that'll just help us align it correctly. Okay, so effect pivot only, centered object, then click it again to turn it off. Alright, so let's grab our post there that we subdivided, and we'll just hold shift and drag on the X over here, and we'll do a copy. Alright, and then we'll just use the align tool to align it to our post. So let's turn that on, click on our post. Alright, we'll do X, Y, and Z, and pivot point, and just hit OK. Alright, so there's one. Alright, so I'm just going to drag a copy over on the Y, holding shift to the other side. Alright, and we'll say OK. Alright, and same thing here. Click on the align tool, select our post there, and this time I'm going to click on X, Y, and Z under align orientation, just so it aligns it to the right angle, and we'll say OK. Alright, and we'll do it one more time. Shift drag on the X, OK, and then just align it to the post. It'll remember the settings, so just say OK. Okay, and let's just get rid of the ones we had blocked in there. Alright, so I'm going to try to select it. There it is, and delete. Same with this one, delete, and then the one on the back there. Delete it. Okay. So we'll start painting now. I might just do a quick save now that we have it subdivided. Alright, so we'll save another copy. Alright, so let's select the front corner post there, and we'll start with this one. So I'm going to go into isolation mode, Alt-Q. Alright, and to get to the paint deformation tools, they're at the very bottom of the edit poly rollout, way down here. Alright, so just click and open up the panel for it. And to avoid scrolling up and down the rollout here, I'm just going to actually extend the panel over to the side here, and you can do that by clicking on the right of the viewport. When you see those 2 little arrows, just hold down the left mouse button and drag to the left. Okay, and it just pulls the top of the panel over next to it so you can see everything. You don't have to keep going up and down. Alright, so that's going to save us a little bit of time. Alright, so for the paint deformation, if you're not familiar with it, it's really just a very simplified form of sculpting. Alright, you have this little brush head, just turn it on here. Alright, this blue brush, and it just pulls and pushes verts around. Okay, so similar to how Mudbox or ZBrush works, but much more simplified. Okay, and then we have some options down here for the push-pull value, the strength, and the size. Alright, and you also have the dialog here, brush options. You can open that up and further tweak your brush. Okay, so if you're using a pen and a tablet, you can set it for brush sensitivity to different things. Alright, you can do mirroring, you can change the fall off of your brush, you can change the settings for min and max strength and size. Alright, I'm just going to leave everything actually at default here and just close it, and I'm just going to make my adjustments down here using the options inside the panel. And the only thing that's a little bit of a pain in the ass when you're using this is when we switch to a different piece, it's going to reset to the default here. Okay, and I haven't found a way to actually permanently change these to a lower amount. You can change them in here and it's going to change it on this piece, but when we switch to a new piece, all this is going to be reset. Okay, so I'm sure there's a way to save it to what you want, but I haven't found it. So yeah, I'm just going to quickly tweak that every time we switch to a new piece. Alright, so I'll just show you how it works here. With the brush active, you just click and hold down the left mouse button and just drag. Okay, and you can see it just pulls the verts out in every direction. Okay, and if you hold down Alt and click and drag, it just pushes them in. Okay, so again, it's similar to how most sculpting packages work, just a lot more simplified. Alright, so let's undo that a couple times, Control Z. And we want our effect to be subtle, so let's take these down a little bit. Alright, so I'm going to lower the push-pull down a bit to maybe around 5. We'll take the brush size down, it's a little too big. Alright, maybe around 10 or 12. Okay, and the strength here is really touchy, so we don't want to go too intense. So I'm going to take it way down to maybe like 0.03 or so. And I usually like to keep it under 0.05 or so when I'm trying to do wood, because we don't want to, really warp it, and it's going to start to not really look like wood anymore. Okay, so we'll try to keep the effect subtle. Alright, so I'm just going to click and hold down the left mouse button and just kind of start painting over the surface. Okay, and just randomly, pressing Alt to push it in instead of pull it out. Alright, so we'll just work around up and down. And sometimes when you see old wood, it starts to kind of swell up around the ends because water gets inside the grain there. So I'm just going to maybe just hit that a little bit, kind of bloat it up just slightly. Alright, let's take the brush size down a little more. Alright, just going to hit the end here, and we don't really have to worry about the ends too much on these pieces because we have the beam sitting on top and the block on the bottom, so you're not really going to see that stuff anyway. Alright, so we'll just do a quick. Alright, let's hit this end a little bit underneath, maybe. Alright, you can do this also with your edges turned off if you hit F4. Alright, get a better idea of how it's actually looking. And yeah, we're just looking for a subtle warping effect. We just don't want to have any massive, bulges. And you could use, if you didn't want to paint it manually, you could try using maybe a noise modifier to do this, but I'd actually recommend doing it manually because you have a lot more control. Doing it this way, you can get the detail where you want it, as opposed to the noise modifier, which just applies it to the whole surface. Let's hit this side. I'm just going to kind of make sure I hit all the parts of it, all the sides. Alright, if you do go too intense, you can see I got a big dip here and a big bulge. You can either just paint it out or push it in, or you can use the relax brush here. Okay, so I'll just turn that on and up the amount a little bit. Okay, and this just kind of relaxes everything and kind of evens it out. Alright, if you want to use that, you can. I usually don't use it too often, but it's there if you want to try it. I usually just do everything with the brush. Alright, so let's take this back down again. Alright, just going to kind of fix that a little bit. It's a little too intense. Alright, let's maybe hit that there, and just make sure we get everything. And I'm going to try to go fairly quick on this, just for the sake of speed, but you can take all day doing it if you want to. I spent quite a while the first time I modeled the tower doing this, and it's a good idea also to unhide the rest of your model when you're doing it as well, so you can see the other pieces as you go. And that's actually why I prefer to block all my pieces in first with just plain boxes, just so I can get a better idea of how the sculpting is going to affect all the pieces that are up against it. Alright, if you start getting interpenetrations like you can see up here, don't worry about it, because when we get up and start detailing the beam here, we can make adjustments for that. Alright, so it doesn't have to be, perfect. Alright, so let's take a look, F4. Alright, I'm really just looking at the silhouette of it. Just want to break up the straight lines. Alright, so that's probably okay, we don't need to go nuts. Alright, so I'm just going to move on. Alright, so we'll turn off that and select our next one here. And when I originally built the first version of this, I actually didn't clone any of my pieces like we did here. I manually did one at a time, just so I could use different chamfer amounts to, you know, kind of make it look a little more regular. And you could do it that way, but it's a lot more time consuming because you'll have to chamfer and subdivide each piece as you go. But for the tutorial, you know, I just decided to clone them here because, you know, got to be a little quicker than I normally would. But that'll be up to you, depending on how much time you want to spend. Alright, but I'm just going to move on to this one, and let's go into isolation mode, LQ, and we'll just continue on here. And as you can see, it reset our settings here, so I'm just going to quickly lower these down again. And I'm sure there's a way to alter these permanently, but yeah, I haven't found it, so maybe someone knows how to do that. Alright, so just continue on. And you can go with a much smaller brush if you want to. I mean, this isn't totally high res, so you want to keep it big enough that you can hit some of the verts. But yeah, if you want to use a smaller brush, you can. I'm just trying to cover most of the surface fairly quickly, so just going to keep it on the larger side. Let's hit this with Alt. Let's maybe take that down a little bit. I'm just going to take the intensity up a little bit too. And it is very, very touchy, so you don't want to go too high. Alright, let's turn our edges off. Okay, I'm just going to exit isolation mode here so I can see it with the other pieces visible. Alright, I'm just going to also pay attention to the other ones that we've already done, just to try to make sure that they don't look too similar. We don't want it to look like we just sculpted one and cloned it all over the place, so I want to pay attention to that if you can. Alright, so that's probably okay for this one, so I'm just going to move on. Alright, continue around to the next one. And just repeat the process here. Let's take that down a little bit. And it's I guess a good idea to obviously vary the size of your brush as you go. Alright, let's get rid of some of that. It's a little too dipped in, I think. I'm just going to take this down a bit. I went a little too intense there. And we do want it to look like wood, so yeah, we just want to, kind of be consistent over the pieces. Alright, let's see what it looks like with the rest of it there. And check out the tops up here. Just going to pull this out maybe a little bit. The back a little bit. Okay, so that's good for this one, I think, so I'm going to move on to the last one here. Okay, and same deal, we'll just repeat the process here. And again, I'm really trying to be, as quick as I can, because I know it's a little repetitive watching this over and over again, but feel free to take, as much time as you need to get it really the way you want. It looks kind of janky up there, so I'm just going to try to paint some of that out a bit. Alright, let's hit this side, down here maybe. I'm just going to tweak the back a little bit down here. Pull that out a little bit. And you just want to be careful that you don't go too, crazy, like where we have our chamfers here. If you hold down Alt and you really hammer it over and over again, you might start to get the verts crossing. Okay, so that could cause a problem later on, so just be careful of that. We have a fairly wide chamfer here, so we don't really totally need to worry about it, but on some of the smaller pieces when we get to those, we're going to have to be a little careful. Alright, check it out with the edges visible. Alright, let's get rid of some of that. And it'll really also depend on how beat down you want your tower to look. You can go more intense or less intense, depending on what you want yours to look like. Alright, but I'm going to call that one done. Alright, so let's turn this off, exit isolation mode, just take a quick look, make sure everything's looking decent. I'm just going to quickly check and make sure I didn't make anything look too similar. I mean, they don't have to be drastically different. I mean, they obviously would be, the same size post, same kind of wood, same age, so they should look somewhat similar, but I just want to make sure nothing looks like it's repetitive too much. Alright, so that's probably cool for the corner posts. Okay, so we'll just continue on, maybe start working on the beams next, but I'm going to do a save now that we have those guys done. Alright, so I'm going to move up and I think start working on the large beams here on the sides. Okay, and we can also start making adjustments to the placement and the length of these. So I might make one of these a little longer than the other. The only reason I didn't alter them down here is because they have to line up obviously for our beam and our blocks to sit on there properly. Okay, but the rest of the pieces we have some freedom to adjust. Okay, so I'm going to do that on this one here. I'm going to convert it to editable poly. Okay, and I'm just going to grab maybe the front 4 verts there and just make it a little bit longer. It doesn't have to be a lot, just slightly. Okay, just so it sticks out a little farther than this one. Alright, you can also, alter the width if you want to, but that's probably fine. Okay, so let's go into isolation mode on this piece and we'll just quickly chamfer the edges down. Alright, so I'm going to grab those 4, do a chamfer. Okay, let's take this down slightly. Alright, maybe around 0.45 or 0.46. So we'll say okay, invert it, chamfer the ends. Take these down just a little bit. I want this to be a little tighter. Alright, maybe around 0.2 or so. Alright, and let's just quickly subdivide this. So I'm going to grab those edges, do a connect. Alright, we can probably get away with maybe 8 or 10. I think I'll try 8 here, so I'll say okay. And then we're going to do it in the other 2 directions as well. So I'm just going to drag through. Make sure you don't have back facing turned on. And we'll do a connect. Alright, in this direction we can probably just use maybe 3. So say okay, and then let's also do it this way. Alright, connect, and I think I'll just do 3 that way as well. Again, you can use more if you want to. Alright, so let's turn off edge and turn our brush back on there. Alright, take the size down a bit. Alright, might use a little bit bigger brush on this one. Alright, and the intensity way down again to maybe 0.03 or so. Take the push pull down a little bit as well. Alright, and we'll just start going here. I'm just going to warp up the ends a little bit. Let's take the brush size down a little more. I'm just going to kind of hit the chamfers in different places just to break it up so it's not perfectly even over the entire length of it. Alright, maybe warp it a little bit on top. We will have those deck boards sitting up here, so we don't want to go too intense, but we can hit it a bit. Alright, let's hit this end over here. Alright, push this in a little bit maybe. Alright, turn the edges off, F4. I actually prefer to do it with the edges visible because I think it's a little easier to see how it's starting to move, but that'll be up to you. Alright, so let's exit isolation mode, just see how this looks. Alright, we can check our interpenetrations here. That actually doesn't look too bad. It's okay if it's penetrating a little bit. We don't want anything major, so I'm just going to hit Alt here a couple times just to push it back up. Alright, just to give it some space. Alright, but that's probably fine for that one. Alright, so I think that's pretty good for this one here. I'm going to leave that, and we'll move on to the next one. And you could clone it over if you want to, or you could even mirror it and flip it over and stick it over there. But I do want the lengths to be different, so I'm just going to manually do this one. And some of the smaller pieces we can get away with mirroring and cloning, but the four corner posts here and these two big beams are like the focal point of it, so I'm going to just do them manually because I think we'll get a better looking result. Alright, so let's go into isolation mode and convert it to editable poly. Alright, grab the four edges again and chamfer. Alright, take this down a bit, maybe around 0.45 again. Say OK, invert it with Control I. Chamfer down the ends. Alright, take this down slightly. Alright, I'm just using random amounts, just so they don't look the same again. Alright, so we'll go right around 0.3 for this one, and OK, and then grab the center edges, connect. Alright, and I'm just going to use 8 again. Alright, I think that was enough. You can use more though. Alright, so we'll say 8, and let's grab it this way. Connect, and I'll just do 3 again. Say OK, and then grab it this way, and hit connect. Alright, so let's exit edge and isolation mode. Alright, and I'm just going to paint this one actually on the model. I'm just going to try to decide if I want to move it at all. Alright, because we can slide it, back or forward. So I'm just going to push it back just a little bit. Okay, and let's start painting. Alright, turn our brush on. Take the size down a bit. Intensity way down. And the push pull down a little bit. Just going to lower the brush size to maybe like 10. Alright, and we just want to keep an eye over here that we don't make them too similar. Let's go into isolation mode, Alt Q. Alright, just going to hit the underside and the inside. We can see it a little easier. Alright, turn the edges off again. Just going to hit this a little bit here. Alright, let's turn the brush off, exit isolation mode, and just take another look. Alright, so that looks decent. Okay, so we'll continue on. I'm just going to save one more time. So I think I'll move on and do the ones underneath the decking here next, and we'll get all the big pieces out of the way, and then we'll start working on the smaller detail pieces. Okay, so let's just get our deck boards out of here so we can see a bit better. Alright, I'm just going to select them, right click, hide selection. Alright, and let's grab this end one here and convert it to poly. Okay, and you can see it's interpenetrating here a bit, so I might just grab those verts on that end and just pull them back so it fits a bit better. Let's check that end out. Alright, that one's not too bad. Alright, I think I'll leave the height for this one as it is. Okay, so let's detail it. Alright, so I'm going to go to isolation mode, and let's chamfer the edges down again. Alright, lower that down, maybe to around 0.35. Okay, invert with Control I, and chamfer the ends. And we're never going to see the ends of these, so we don't have to worry about it too much, so I'll just take this down a bit, tighten it up, maybe around 0.2. And let's subdivide it quickly. Alright, maybe I'll use 8 this time, it's not that long, so that should be fine. And let's go this way. Probably just do 3 again. And we'll go this way as well. And hit connect. Okay, so let's turn off edge for a sec, exit isolation mode. Alright, so we'll save some time here, we'll just clone this a couple of times. I might actually alter another one and we'll do 2 at a time. So let's grab this one and I'm just going to shift drag this one down to maybe the 3rd box there, and say OK. Alright, and let's move it into place there. Okay, I'm just going to grab the one that we had blocked in and delete it. Okay, Okay, and then we'll grab the second one here and convert it to editable poly. Alright, I might just alter the width of this one a little bit. Alright, so I'm going to grab the verts on the left side there and just pull them over to make it a little thicker than this one. Okay, and we can maybe alter the height as well. Alright, so let's grab the bottom four. Alright, just going to go underneath here and just move them up just a little bit. Okay, just to make the bottom a little more uneven looking. Okay. You can also do that on the top if you want to, but it probably really doesn't matter because we're going to have those boards laying across there, so that's fine. Alright, so let's go into isolation mode on this one, and we'll just quickly chamfer and subdivide it. So let's chamfer the edges down again. Alright, maybe around 1.4 for this one, invert it, chamfer again, and just take this one down a bit. Maybe around 0.2.5 or so. Say OK, and we'll just add our 8 segments. Say OK, go this way, connect, add our 3, and this way, and add our 3, connect. Okay, so turn the edge off, exit isolation mode. Alright, let's just clone this guy over to the end here. Alright, so again I'm just going to shift drag on the X. Alright, and let's grab that one that doesn't have any detail, and delete it. Okay, and we'll just start with the first one here and just paint it quickly. So back to isolation mode, Alt Q, and let's turn our brush back on. Take the push pull down, take the size down to maybe around 8, and let's take the amount way down here, 0.03 or so, and we'll just quickly rough it up again. And the ends, we're not going to see them, so you don't have to worry about it too much. Not going to totally touch them on these pieces. Just going to lower the intensity down a bit. Alright, just want to be careful here. We're getting pretty close to cross inverts. Alright, so I'm just going to click that and just pull it back out. Alright, let's turn the edges off. F4, just take a quick look. Alright, so that's probably good for this one. Again, you're not really going to see these too much, so we don't have to spend too much time doing it. Okay, so let's turn off the brush and just exit isolation mode again. Alright. And I'm just going to copy it, maybe, now that we have the detail, so let's shift drag over here, and we'll just save some time here. So let's shift drag it over, I'm just going to rotate it. So let's go to rotate, turn the angle snaps on, and just spin it maybe over 180 like that. Alright, we can also flip it this way, 180. Alright, and again, I'm just going to align it to this one over here. Alright, so I'm just going to center the pivot on it. Alright, quickly, just to make sure it kind of lines up a little easier. And we'll just use the align tool and click on the third one there. Alright, and let's just say OK. And just move it up. Alright, and then grab the other one and delete it. Alright, so there's 2 down. Alright, so we'll move on to the second one here. And just do the same thing quickly. Take the amount way down again. Alright, we'll just quickly hit this. Alright, that's a little too intense. Let's take it down to 2.02. Alright, lower the brush size a little bit as well. The bottom. Alright, that's probably even good right there. Okay, Okay, so let's turn the brush off, exit isolation mode one more time, and we'll just reuse this at the end. I'm just going to zoom out here so I can see. Alright, so let's grab it and just shift drag it over again. Alright, and this time I might just flip it over 180. Alright, let's just quickly align it here. Just manually do it, so say OK, and then just move it up. Alright, I'm just going to move this one maybe over a little bit, just to vary the spacing. Okay, and let's grab that one there that doesn't have the detail and delete it. Alright, take a quick look here. Alright, I got kind of a massive bulge in it, so I'm just going to get rid of that. Alright. Let's take this down a little bit. Reset the settings again, so just going to lower it down. Alright, take this down a bit. Alright, so that's probably cool for these guys. I'm not going to worry about it too much because it is going to be covered up. Alright, so all the major pieces are done, and we'll just start working on the smaller pieces next. So let's just do a save first.